Old me. Old me. Okay. So, up to this point, I've been making videos. I made like 6 videos to vent about my upcoming layoff. Things are bizarre because I don't know if I'm getting laid off or not. I guess that's the big takeaway. Let me straighten this out. Where are we at here? There we go. Close enough. So, yeah, the big takeaway now is I honestly don't know if I am losing my job. It's March 17th. The initial date in which they wanted to terminate me was at the end of this month. And they said they were pushing that back to June 30th. And, okay, fine. But all I get now is no one's really talking about letting me go. They're bringing in all this additional work. They got me doing these other things. So I'm just... no idea. No idea what's going on. So I'm just kind of biding my time, I guess you could say. I do have an interview tomorrow morning with the state of Illinois as for a videographer position. And I'm not looking forward to it. Now, you may think that, oh, well, you know, it probably pays less, or there's some reason. No, the reason is, I'd have to explain so much. I'm not one who deserves any sympathy at all. I don't deserve any sympathy whatsoever and for anything. And the reason why is because I have a insanely stupidly gravy job. And my concern for myself is over losing that gravy job. And I get it. I understand. You know? And that's why... and that's kind of the thing with this job that I'm interviewing for tomorrow. Yeah, it's a videographer position. And even the starting pay of this position is more than what I make. By like 30%. Something like that. I mean, it's a pretty significant jump. Actually, well, no, it's more like a quarter, like 25% more than what I make is the baseline starting pay. Top end of that, which I guess you could say is all based on experience, which I do have 21 years of, would be 50% in jump in pay. And it's a state job, so I'd have good time off, great benefits, pension. You qualify for retirement really early. I mean, on paper, it sounds like a great deal, great gig. But just one of those things, you know. Congrats on a pay increase. I haven't taken it yet. The interview's tomorrow. But I don't even know if I want the job, I guess is the thing. And this is why I say I don't deserve anyone's sympathy, because I'm very, very lazy. I'm a lazy man. And my job now is so incredibly easy to do. And I feel like if my job, let's say I've got everything wrong. Let's just say I was angry. I was venting. I don't know this for sure. I'm not saying it's one way or the other. I'm just saying, let's say, what if, hypothetically, I completely overshot the moon and I suspected a bunch of stuff that really wasn't happening. Okay. What if they have no design? My employer has no designs on letting me go. Even though I could go to a job that pays vastly more, I don't know if I would go because of how great this job has been for me. I mean, it's literally like, I don't know how to explain how great it is to have a job where you control your time, you control your time worked. Like, I could literally go in the middle of the night and do my work and nobody cares. I can work from home. I can work at the office. I can work in the middle of the night. I could take a day off and then work on Saturday if I wanted to. I could work on Sunday. I could work on holidays. I could work however I wanted, whenever I wanted. I am in complete and utter control of my time. And I know no other job is going to have that, give me that potential. I mean, Jesus, 2 years ago, my mom fell and broke her ankle. And I literally worked from home for 4 months taking care of her. I don't know of any other employer that would let you do that. I don't make an incredible amount of money, but I make enough for where I live. I mean, granted, since the state of Illinois increased their minimum wage to $15, it's definitely decreased how much more I was making than your average person. Most factory gigs, like if you went to a factory and got a maintenance job, you'd be making as much as I make, basically. So it's not that far off the mark anymore. I used to be paranoid as all hell, thinking that I made so much for this area, there was no possible way they're going to keep me on because I'm just drastically overpaid. Well, I'm no longer drastically overpaid. The inflation and COVID and all that took care of that. But the one thing that I still do have is a great pension, and I have the freedom of time. Like I literally control my job. It's my job. Now, the question has been, is my job necessary to the company I work for anymore? Well, that's what they're trying to see. That's what this year up to this point, these past 3 months, has been. And we've gotten new clients in. We've been doing work. I've been pretty busy. I have a new boss, like I said in my videos, and he's say what I will about him, say what I've said about him over the years. He's actually doing the work. He's going out and actually doing the work, unlike my last boss who did zero. So can't complain on that front. So if they're not talking about letting me go from the company and they have me doing all this work that's literally designed to keep my job, like we're having these issues with our traffic and billing system and commercial volume things, and I'm in the process of working through all the technical background stuff of that. Why would they do that if they were shutting the department down? I mean, it just seems like a waste of time. So I don't know. That's where I'm at now. And that's where I kind of land on the whole, do I want to leave my job if they're not showing me the door? Because with this interview tomorrow, it's going to be very, very difficult for me to not go, because everyone in the state of Illinois knows that working for the state is a pretty sweet gig. But also, there's the added aspect of AI in what I do. AI is kind of really, it's not killing a lot of markets now, like in present, but the future, it's only getting bigger and better for AI. So I see a lot of video production jobs going to the wayside because clients just want it quick. They want it cheap. They want it easy. And if AI is going to provide that for them, and it can actually start creating videos with people in it that don't have 3 arms and 6 fingers and, and crazy shit like that, then, which it's eventually going to get to that point, they're going to stop paying people like me to do production. They'll be able to do it all in-house. But, and this is a big plus for the state, that is the one employer I can think of that will never ever utilize AI, because there's too many like, red flags involving the state utilizing AI for video products, especially when you're talking about elected officials and federal money, not federal money, but state money, and it's taxpayer money essentially. They don't want it to go to utilizing a service that could be made to falsify video and falsify things, and there's just too many variables involving the use of AI on a state level. So I would have longevity, I would have job security in that regard for going to the state, but I'd be doing a hell of a lot more work. I mean, part of the job description is I'd be traveling throughout the state. I'm also working with people I really don't want to work with. I'm not a big fan of the state government. Not really a big fan of it at all. Every year I have to submit my tax bill. Reminds me and reinforces to me just how much my state sucks. And now I got to go. And the governor of this state I'm not a big fan of. I've never been a big fan of him. But now in this sort of job, I'm going to be literally going out in the service of him and others like him and doing video and work and all that. Like, I may have to meet these people, not like a peer sort of meeting, or I know I'm just a lowly underling, but I still have to be in the vicinity of all these people and do all this work. And it's just like, I don't know, man, that's so not me, I mean, money is one thing, but there's also the added aspect of my wife lost her job last year. She'd been working at her job for 9 years. And then the guy sold the farm she worked for. So she had to find a new job. She did. I actually found it for her because I was in the process of doing a video for this place called Mellow Cream. They make donuts, essentially. They make donuts for a lot of different businesses and outfits and things. If you've ever been to a Hy-Vee and gotten donuts, you've had Mellow Cream donuts. She works for them. Well, she's been there for 8 months, and now she just got promoted to a supervisor position. I mean, now she's going to be making like $75,000 a year. And I'm like, great, awesome. Now I don't have to really worry about my pay and how much I'm making, because she'll be making more. And if I do lose my job, I don't have to be as concerned with how much I have to make. So the state job, while I'd be making significantly more, I can't downplay that, I start to return to that whole point of like, well, what is it I want? Do I want to have my freedom? Do I want to have my control over my time like I do now, or at least something similar to that? Or do I just want money? And let me tell you, after this tax season, this year we had to pay in $2,700. We ended up going into a higher tax bracket by $2,000, and that really pissed me off. But this upcoming year, with her getting a raise and me potentially going to a job where I'm going to be making like $100,000 on my own, we're going to have to just get used to paying higher taxes, or, higher tax rate and all that. And I realize, like, I don't think it's really worth it, Is it really worth it to make more money just so the government can take more money? I don't know. I guess there's a trade-off. It works, but I don't know. All I know is I have an interview with the state tomorrow at 9. I'm going to try to not botch it. Although deep inside of me, there's a feeling of I'm not going to take it seriously. I want to stay at my current job. I've always wanted to stay at my current job, at my current employer. They've been good to me. I've been there for a long time, and I really feel like it's my home, even though this past couple of months has been very, very stressful. There's been a lot of change up, and there's been a lot of questionable actions that my former boss took, former, clients have taken, just a lot of crazy crap. But at the end of the day, man, it's a hard situation to be at somewhere for so long and then face that reality that you're going to be moving on and going somewhere else. And I just realized, looking at this screen, that there is no possible way I'm wearing a gray shirt tomorrow. I put this background behind me because I didn't want it to just be because I got to do the interview from here. It's a virtual interview, right? I'm sure the interview process is going to be in stages, and they're going to do a virtual interview. Then I'm probably going to have to go and take the CMS test because it's a state union, like clerical union, you got to get involved with. And then I'm sure I'd have to take the test, pass that, and then they would do, based on that, I think they would probably follow up with another in-person interview or something of that nature. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it, but I was going to wear a gray dress shirt tomorrow. Now I'm starting to think that that's not such a good idea with the gray background. I have to think of something else. I got some other shirts. But yeah, I'm not even sure I'm going to even get the job, just due to the fact that I'm 48 years old, applying for a videographer position. I bring a lot of experience to the table, but by the same token, I'm also 48 years old. So it's like, I don't know what they're looking for. They could be looking for people who are more in their 20s or 30s, And that being the case, if that is the case, then I think that what I look like is, because I've done interviews before. I used to be a hiring manager for my department. I've done interviews, and I know oftentimes when you have a position and you have people who meet the requirements that you put out there for a job, sometimes you have to interview them. Because if the state ever audits you, like the Department of Labor or EOE or whoever oversees that has any reason or to audit your company over your hiring practices, then you have to be able to say, yeah, this is the reason. Yeah, we interviewed these candidates. We passed on this person for whatever reason. Because once you get to the interview phase, you can literally make up whatever you want about why you chose one person over another, because that's all left up to the employer. But if a person like me with my background, my experience, my credentials, I apply for a job like that and I don't even get an interview, I could have went to the Department of Labor, or I could have went to somebody and said, hey, like, what's the deal? Like, why wasn't I even considered? Like, I've met all the qualifications. I have tons of experience. Like, I should have at least gotten an interview, and they would agree. So they'd have to ask them, and then they'd have to have some sort of valid reason why they, didn't choose me. And it has to be a valid reason, because if they say age, there's no, you can't discriminate based on age. At least not in that way. You can't say, oh, well, we were looking for someone younger. Even if they interview me, right? And I am legit, I know my stuff, blah, blah, blah. It's a good interview. They can still turn me down on age and then just say it was something else. Some other candidate just had better qualities that we felt would work best in this environment, yada, yada, whatever you got to say. And especially in this state, with it being pretty much blue through and through, I'm sure if it comes down to it, they'll have no problem making a case to hire a woman or, a minority, someone other than straight white male for a position like this, no matter how much experience I bring to the table, and that's fine. I don't care about that. I mean, this is one of those instances where I just don't care, because I'm now really thinking that I'm not losing my job, that I may have blown the whole goddamn thing out of proportion, and I kind of look like an idiot. I don't think I blew it out of proportion. I just think it's a very strange situation for everyone involved. And I thought that there was malice involved, when really it's just, there's a lot of change up, there's a lot of weirdness, and there's a lot of different aspects that are just like, everyone's uncertain about the future. Everyone, not just me. And, but I'm getting to that point with the company where I'm like old hat, you know, a lot of the old guard's gone. And with my 21 years in, I'm the new old guard, you know, so it's weird for them to lay me off versus other people, you know, with less time in the company. So I don't know. They haven't done anything up to this point that's unforgivable. I've eaten a lot of shit sandwiches at this job, so I'm kind of used to it. But they haven't done anything unforgivable. And when it really comes down to keeping myself in the manner of lifestyle that I prefer, just keeping my job is the way to go. Soraya always says that I need to stop wearing this shirt because it makes me look fat. It makes me look like really, really big. It's a huge shirt. I mean, it's absolutely fucking huge. I don't know why I still wear it. This was the shirt I used to wear when I was 400 pounds. But I don't know. It's comfortable. Yeah, so that's where I'm at with that. It's just weird. I was making all these plans to go to a warehouse called Dot Foods. I was going to work in the warehouse, and I was going to get the 3 12-hour shifts was what the job was. And all you do is just drive around a pallet truck throughout a warehouse, and you pick items off of other pallets. You build a pallet out of cases that you pull off that, and then send those out for 12 hours a day for 3 days a week. Then you get 4 days off. It's like, doesn't sound terrible. $20 an hour though. $20, man. And I know I'm saying that. There's people in other states that would probably think, oh man, that's a killer. That's killer. But the only reason it's $20 an hour is because our minimum wage in Illinois is $15. So when it's only $5 more than minimum wage, it gives you a better framework of how little it actually is. Like, it's not enough to really, I mean, there's living and there's living. I have a lot of friends who've worked there for many years, and they all hate it. It's weird for me to think about going to a job like that, because the whole reason I went to school and the whole reason I got a job like what I have is to get away from jobs like that. So I don't know why I would go back to it, but there's also a part of me that feels like I'm just going to end up back there anyway, so I might as well do it while I'm still relatively young, instead of being like 55, 56 and then have to get thrown back into that shit. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do. The thing is with the state job, though, because part of what my discussion was, is if I had to leave my current job, I was going to cash out my pension and my 401k, and I was going to put it pretty much all in the house and get that paid down, refinance it, and then I wouldn't have, my debt level would be considerably lower. so I wouldn't have to make more money or as much money. But if I got the state job, that kind of changes the dynamic, because the state has a pension as well, and I would be making enough money to where I could quite literally just roll my pension over to the state pension and keep going, and maybe even retire in 6 years. I mean, I know the state retires early, so if I could roll my money over into the state's pension and it matures in like 6 to 7 years, then that might be the way to go. I mean, that would cut my planned retirement in half by 6 years. Doesn't really help the situation with my wife, but I don't know. I guess it's all the way you look at it. But yeah, that's where I'm at. That's all that's really been going on. I haven't been sleeping. Listen to this fucking music. Yeah, I haven't really been sleeping. Last night I was up pretty much all night. Don't know why. I thought I would be tired today, but I'm not. It's very annoying because, well, I guess it's better that I didn't sleep during the day, so I can sleep maybe tomorrow or tonight and then be ready for tomorrow. I highly doubt I'm going to sleep tonight. If I couldn't sleep last night, I highly doubt I'm going to be sleeping tonight knowing I have an interview with the state tomorrow. So I guess we'll see. Maybe I'll sleep like a baby. Who knows? I was thinking about, not doing this until tomorrow after the interview, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to know. I mean, unless they just outright, like, because I also know how it is when you're interviewing, like, a lot of people get weird about interviews, people think that you've got to, like, oh, I got to do so good on this interview. I got to impress these people. 9 times out of 10, they've already made their decision. It sounds crazy, but I guess it does matter. It does depend on the pool of applicants who are actually being interviewed, because I don't know how other businesses do it. If they interview like 10 people, which seems fucking bizarre to me, but if you can't narrow the field down to just like a couple, how's it going, Prairie Judge? If you can't narrow the field down to just like maybe 3 to interview, then what does that say, But I know that in my personal experience from hiring people, the people that we were going to hire, we pretty much just already knew who we were going to hire. The interview was just a formality at that point. One instance, it was the last person I hired. We interviewed her just because the HR manager was pushing for it. I look good. Well, thank you. I've lost a lot of weight. I lost a lot of weight thanks to my stress levels and anxiety. But the last person I hired, was not my choice. My choice, we actually ended up hiring or offering the job to. He said he was going to get back to us, and then ended up taking another job while he was making us wait. So that sucked, because I really wanted him, but you could make the argument it wasn't going to work. But we hired the girl instead. She actually turned out to do really well. But still and all, but that's just one of several instances in the past where I have known going in, like, who we were going to hire. And we'd have to interview other people. You can't just offer a job and interview one person in the event that you get audited. You've got to interview more than one person. So it sucks that you're going to interview a person that doesn't have a shot in hell, but that's the way companies do it. And that's why I'm thinking that I'm either, there's a 50-50 shot that I'm a shoo-in for this job, or I'm that guy that they just are interviewing just because I have the credentials on paper that say I can do the job, but they're going to pass on me for other reasons. you know, like, or they already have somebody else that, you know, connections, networking, glad handing, nepotism, whatever you want to call it, could be the cause or the factor. But nevertheless, I'm going into tomorrow thinking I'm not getting the job. You love interviewing people? I don't. That's one of the things I'm happy I don't have to do anymore is interview. It's all bullshit. You don't glean anything from an interview. You have the questions that you have to ask that are just garden variety bullshit. And I've never been able to determine anything. And that could be me, you know, just for the type of job that I'm interviewing people for. It's like personality really doesn't play a part in it. They have a function to do. It's more tech oriented. So it's not, they don't have to be people person kind of material. So the interview process is just kind of, it just is what it is. You know, it's like I already kind of know what I'm getting into based on the resume that I've gotten from them. It tells a lot. And also when in my field, like they'll send me a resume, they'll send me a demo reel showing their work. And that's where you get a lot of your information is from someone's work. You know, if I can see it for myself and say, that's the caliber of quality that I'm looking for, that's 90% of the battle. And I realize that's not a lot of jobs. I get it. But in my situation, it's very, very unique. I never asked the canned questions. I was probably inquisitor in a past life. Well, see, I tried to be that guy. I tried to be the guy who would, like, you know, ask other questions because I got tired of asking the canned questions. But then the HR people got on my ass. They're like, you know, we have to have these questions on record. We have to have their responses for this because this is just what you get audited on if they start asking you. If you start, their thing was like, if I start asking too personal questions, anyone who audits the process from the outside could say, why did you they could start scrutinizing the questions that you asked and saying that making a case to basically say you made your determination based on this when it had nothing to do with it. But since you asked the question, there's a framework of doubt thrown in, as though, you know, as if it's better to not ask the question and open the door for that question to be asked later. As far as like, if somebody makes a case as to unfair hiring practices or whatever, you know, that's their standpoint. And I'm like, whatever. Okay, fine. But like I said, for what I needed people for, the demo reel and the resume basically did all the work. I'll ask them and then pivot, make them more or less comfortable, then go back. I mean, that depends on the kind of job you're interviewing for and you're hiring for. I mean, my job didn't require a lot of social skills. It didn't require being quick on your feet or having quick answers or whatever. You really just had to know your stuff. And there was not really a whole lot I was going to get out of an interview process. Like, I wanted to actually quiz these people. I wanted to create like a test that they had to take and present that to them. But then the HR people told me I couldn't even do that. I was like, well, then what are we even doing here? You know, it's like, if I can't get what I need out of these people, then what's the point? Sometimes I get a guest. I've never had anyone question my questions. I've hired maybe 100 people now and probably turned away 1,000. It also depends on if you have your own business or if you're working for another or for a company. But yeah, that's the thing that I had to deal with was HR and the fear of being audited by the state over hiring practices. Hire for different jobs. HR either loves or hates me depending on their common sense level. Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't come up for you then. Because I know at least the HR for our company, they frowned highly on the potential of opening up the potential for scrutiny in the hiring process. Now, our HR manager is a bit of a Chicken Little. I will say that much. So it could just be her. It may not be like across the board, but nevertheless, that's what I had to contend with. The more desperate you are, the worse off you'll be, even if you have a limited hiring pool. Well, that's one of those things, like in the position I've always been in, like desperation was kind of the key. We were the desperate ones. I mean, in the Midwest, you don't get a lot of access to quality artistic people, you know, at least none that live away from the major cities. So trying to lure people in, I was getting applicants from, you know, like San Francisco and shit. And I wanted to bring them in for interviews, but the company they wanted us to pay for half of their flight, you know, half of their travel to come meet us. And this is all before Zoom, and you could do this sort of like, you know, virtual interview stuff. They were very much adamant about not wanting to do that. Like, we're not paying someone to fly out here and do an interview. Like, well, how are we going to get quality people then? It's like, well, there's plenty of quality people around here. You know, just people talking out their ass, that sort of shit. It's like, okay, so basically it's the same situation it's always been. We're going to bring in geeks off the street, and I'm going to have to train them and mold them to what I need them to be. It's not going to work, and I'm going to end up doing the lion's share of the work. They're going to get all the scraps. Thank you. Thank you once again for not allowing me to hire somebody I actually can use. I'm very, very careful. I never had that degree of carefulness or of control. As much as it was my call, but at least they tried to make it sound like it was my call. I should say 90% of the time, probably about 30% to 40% of the time, I was always leaned on pretty heavily as far as choices go, like who I could select. They didn't want to bring in people from too far away. The last person I wanted to hire that we offered the job to, the guy who ended up like putting us on hold and then taking another job, he was actually he was African, and he had come over and went to school here, had been working somewhere, and applied for the job. I was like, well, if he's applying for the job, he's interested in the job. He has the credentials and qualifications. I'd like to bring this guy on and give it a chance. And I heard they said some of the potentially most, not racist shit, but shit I'd never even thought of. Like, well, we're uncomfortable bringing him on because we're afraid he's not going to fit in to this environment. We're afraid. Like, what are you talking about? Like, 15 miles away is a slaughterhouse that literally is probably 40% African. Like half the town that I'm originally from is African now. It's like, he's not going to have a problem fitting in at all in this community. It's like, what are you talking about? But that's the kind of, like, I don't want to say prejudice, but just small-minded, small-town shit. It's just like, they were more afraid that he was going to feel awkward and out of place. And I'm like, he's the one who applied for the job. You know, if that was such a concern for him, he wouldn't have ever sent his resume in. It's like, you can't just dismiss a person because you think they're making a mistake. Allow them to make the mistake. Give them a shot. It's like, Jesus Christ. I always make people talk. The more they talk, the more I understand the questions don't matter. In fact, the more I have to ask questions at all, the less likely I'll hire. There's one thing I know for sure when it comes to an interview. It's that, maybe I don't know it for sure, but I suspect it pretty highly. I know I've done it myself, and I feel like I've been susceptible to it, in the past, is when interviews start to get overly familiar. You know, like the questions deviate away from the canned questions and about the job and all that, and they start to delve more into personal interests and things you like to do, and just more of a conversational, like, they've already decided they're not hiring you. It's over. Like, they're just trying to get through the rest of the interview and not make it seem awkward when they just cut it off, but they've already made up their mind. There's something about you they don't like. There's something about you that's not right. And a giant red flag went up without you realizing it. And now they're just trying to mosey on out of the interview as gracefully as they can. I've had that happen to me on occasion in the past, where I think the interview is going great because we're just having these talks, like, man, this is, it's like I felt really comfortable. I really felt like I was relating to these people. And then I realized after the fact, like, oh yeah, it's just because of awkwardness, because they already know they're not hiring me. I was never like that. I was always like, when we brought people in to interview, I only wanted to interview people who I only wanted to interview people I knew were getting the job. But that's when I was told you can't just interview one person. You have to interview more than one. And I was like, well, that means I'm definitely going to be interviewing a person that I'm not giving the job to. It's like, yeah, but that's the way it has to be. It's like, well, that sucks. And that's one of the main reasons why I don't like doing interviews, is because I know I know who I'm not hiring. And I know I have to sit in this room and talk to them. And I know they don't have a shot in hell of getting the job, but we've got to go through the motions and put on a face and, hey, blah, blah, blah. I'm more likely I want to know how they'll work with other people. Well, I guess that's part of the deal, is like I never had to hire for other people. I was always hiring for me. Like, I'm the guy who you work for, so, when I'm hiring. So it's like, I want to know what I'm getting from someone. And I've hired quite a few different types of people. The person before this last person was a real piece of work. Very, very, very leftist. You could almost argue that they were anti-American, like to a certain degree, like very, very, very anti-American. That's how I would describe them. Oh no, I'm the boss. Oh, you mean work with other people? Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, get along with others. I get it. Okay, I get that. Yeah. See, I never really thought about that. Because I always felt like when it came to the job, it was for me, it was always everyone's kind of doing their own isolated thing. So nobody had to get along. You just had to do the job. And there's too many times where, especially in Illinois, where you're going to hire these different people, you're going to have access to these people, especially in what I do, where it's going to be conflict interests. And just like this dude I was talking about, it was like oil and water with him being in the company. He was just so not what the company is used to. And boy, for years I had to take up for him. It was amazing. They wanted to fire him probably within the first year. And they were literally making whatever excuse they could possibly make to fire him. They had this one thing. He got a speeding ticket, right? And apparently he had a few tickets before that. And since he had so many tickets in the state of Illinois, you get this point system where if you get so many tickets in a certain amount of time, you can lose your license. You get a suspended license, right? So he was facing that over this ticket. And then I get called into my boss's office. He's like, we got a serious problem here. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, your boy here is going to lose his license potentially. I'm like, yeah, so what? If he does, he does. Who cares? So, well, he can't go out and go on shoots and do production for the company. Like, why can't he? Like, he'll be on a suspended license. He'll still be able to drive. It'll just be like a suspended license deal. Like, and also he could ride with me. I could take him, like, whatever. It's like, yeah, but the company won't insure him. It's like, what has the company got to do with it? It's like, well, he's going to be driving the company vehicle, and the company won't allow him to drive with a suspended license or whatever. And it's like, I don't know. There was a whole bunch of shit with the insurance. And I'm like, so they're like, yeah, he's not going to be able to drive a company vehicle, so he's useless to us. We're going to have to let him go. And I was just like, what are you talking? And he already had the HR person involved. And it's like, yeah, this is going to be a serious problem. I'm like, I can't believe you people are discussing this. Like, I literally can't believe you guys are talking about running this guy out the goddamn door just because of this. It's like, we will make this work. Even if I have to take him on shoots, if I have to be the one who drives to the productions and back, we will make this work. He's like, oh, are you sure you want to do that? Like, yes, I'll do that. Holy shit. He's only going to have his license suspended for like 6 months if it even goes through, if he can't make something work. Well, I don't know. 6 months of you driving him to all the shoots. I don't think that's a good use of your time. I'm like, let me deal with my time. It's my time to decide how to deal with. It's like, that's why I'm the production manager. You let me deal with that. And we it finally got resolved because he worked out something with the state's attorney and the county where he got the ticket and got it. He had to pay some money and it got reduced to something else. But basically he didn't get his license suspended. It all went away. But man, they were like insanely quick to let his ass go. And I just couldn't get over it. But even after that, I realized it was a personality conflict between my boss and him. And he just wanted him out the door. Out the door. I wouldn't hire him any record ever. Well, he got the speeding ticket after we already hired him. So it was one of those situations where it's like, it is what it is. But I just like, there's no way we're going to because he was doing the work. He was doing the job. He was doing a good job. And I'm like, we're not letting this guy go. I'm not going back to the hiring process over a goddamn speeding ticket. You're out of your mind. And, but it was just more than that because I had to put up with my boss trying to fire him on numerous occasions. And then when he finally retired and the new boss came in, she fucking hated him. She was sick of his shit like pretty early on. And I'm like, she wanted to fire him. I'm like, I'm not firing him. He does the job. It's like, sure, he's got a weird sense of political justice or whatever. Sure, he's kind of confrontational. Sure, he's anti-religion and he's very, very leftist and doesn't gel with a lot of the people here. Sure, there's personality conflicts, but you can't argue the fact that he does the work. If he's doing the work, but she was just not having it. But I'll never forget it because I always told him, because he was always pissed off because he wanted certain things done. He was very much adamant about working from home, and this is before COVID. This is way before COVID. He wanted to work from home. I'm like, no. It's like, you're not working from home. It's like, why in the hell would you think I would let you work from home? It's like, nobody has ever worked from home here. And he's like, well, yeah, but I drive a long way. I'm like, buddy, we've hired other people who have driven just as far as you. It's like, I got to drive 20 minutes every day back and forth myself. It's like, so you're not really winning any points with me about the whole, commute. It's like, well, it just sucks. I think we have a situation like, I'm like, dude, it's not going to happen. He's like, well, maybe I could talk to blah, blah, blah. And he was always trying to go over my head and talk to, I was like, and as a boss, I had to be like diplomatic about the situation. I had to explain to him, like, listen, you can talk to whoever you want in the company, but I can tell you right now, they don't fucking care about you at all. You are a nothing to them. Absolutely nothing. So the more you pop your head up out of the ground and try to say, I got a problem, their impression of you is going to diminish like drastically. Like if they don't know you, you're in a better position. The less they know about you, you're in a better position. The more they get to know you, it's probably going to be bad for you. It's like, I'm not trying to dissuade you. I'm just trying to give you advice. It's like, keep your head down, do whatever. It's like, I will fight for you. That's what I'm here to do. Like, if you want something done, I will try to make it happen. If I can't make it happen, you have to trust in the fact that I tried to make it happen and it didn't. If you don't have any faith in me, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. But I'm telling you, the biggest advocate you have in this company is me. Me. And it's like, and I would always be open with him. I'm like, for a fact that I fought for you over the years, with our old boss who wanted to let you go and the problems that's been coming up and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'd go to bat for you. I speak out on your behalf and I believe in your work ethic and I know you're a good employee. It's like, but I'm just telling you now, like, All of that goes away when you stab me in the back. It's like, if you decide that I'm a piece of shit and you just stop caring about me and what I'm doing for you and trying to help you, and you are just going to lump me in with everybody else and you're going to start treating me that way, it's like, you're going to lose me as an ally. And once you've lost me as an ally, it's not going to take much longer for them to get what they want. It's like, and I'm not trying to, that's not a threat. It's just the way things are. Like, there's a game in society that everyone has to play. It's like, it's not like we didn't like each other. I mean, we liked each other. We talked all the time. It was fine. We had a good social, camaraderie, even though we were on completely different sides of like any sort of political spectrum. But I looked at it as a fun challenge. We used to have little debates over what we believed. And, but ultimately it was like, it really never came down to that. It was just, he just wanted everything his way, I'm like, you can't have it all your way. Sorry. It's like, but you do a good job. It's like, then it got to a point where he just stopped doing his job. And I could tell he was like, he just had a child and he just wanted to be a stay-at-home dad at that point. And I was like, okay, you can try to make that work. But he was committed. And then he just stopped working. He stopped doing his job. He started no call, no showing. And then it all just went downhill after that. I ended up having to fire him because it was like, and boy, let me tell you, when I went to my boss, like, yeah, I guess we're going to have to let him go. She was like, when? She just could not wait to go over there and drop the news. I'm like, Jesus, lady. But yeah, sometimes that's the way it's got to go. I did have another guy at another job. He got 5 DUIs in 2 weeks. I'm not kidding. How can that happen? I have no idea. Well, that was the one thing. When I got I shouldn't say when I got my DUI, because I didn't get a DUI, but when I got pulled over for DUI, I thought for sure I was losing my job. I thought for sure that I was going to lose my license, and this was all before this dude. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was, this was after this. After him almost losing his job because of his suspended license thing. When they were telling me that I was going to have a suspended license for 12 months, I'm like, that's it. It's curtains for me. They're going to kick my ass out the door. And so I was sweating that hard. I was panicking like a motherfucker. But once that got thrown out and it got reduced to court supervision on a speeding ticket, then I was like, cool, awesome. Now I don't have to worry about that. I'm not even joking. A year later, my current boss got into a accident, drinking and driving with another employee, got into an accident, wrapped their vehicle around a tree, and he ended up with having to have facial reconstruction surgery because he got so fucked up. Lost his license, all this shit. Didn't fire him. I mean, obviously not. He's my boss. And that's when it's like, what in the hell is going on in this company? It's like some people, they're just like, oh, got a speeding ticket and losing their license for 6 months? Fire him. Guy wraps his fucking vehicle around a pole. Let's promote his ass. But that's rural shit right there. That's good old boy shit. When you know people who know people who know people, that's that kind of fucking deal. And I'm a guy who doesn't know anyone, I'm on the outs. That's why it's easy to throw a person like me away, because I'm not tied into the community. My name doesn't mean shit. So it's like, you can do as you wish. Which, again, I figured after 20 years at my job, and the job that I've done for that company, that it meant something. But at the end of the day, you start to realize it really, really doesn't. Not in fucking podunk ass backwater Illinois. And that's maybe why the state job I don't know. I guess I'm just stressing now because it's like, this job could be way, way, way better, or it could be slightly worse. I don't know. Like I said, I don't even know if the interview is legit or if I'm just like alternate round backup guy because they have who they want to interview, but I'm just the guy they have to cover their ass with. Hard to tell. Don't know. I guess I'm going to find that out tomorrow. No, actually, I won't find out tomorrow, but I will have the interview tomorrow. And then I'll know. Since it's the state, I probably won't know for like 2 fucking months. I mean, I sent them my resume in January, I believe. So for my interview to finally be here in March, it's like, yeah, I don't expect to hear anything back until probably May, which is fine. I'm not in any hurry to leave my current job if they're not in any hurry to get rid of me. But I don't know, man. God damn. One of the things that's bothered me for a long, long time is that I've always wanted to do something online with this, to do stuff like this and make this more of a feature in my life. But I've always been scared to do it because of my job. Because I knew that any backlash, any sort of pushback I get from these crazy motherfuckers online will cost me my job. And I couldn't allow that to happen. So I always have to maintain this air of professionalism for my job. And over the years, I've just kind of gotten sick of it. It's like I would rather take a pay cut and work at like a factory or a warehouse just so I could finally be free. Just so I could do these sort of things and not have to worry about how my employer is going to treat it if, you know, this person says something on the stream. Like, who cares? Now, in the modern era with a lot of companies, they've grown up. Everyone's kind of gotten wise to it, but a place like where I work, they never get wise. They never understand. It's always like, well, you should comport yourself in a better manner. You don't need to be on the line doing that stuff and talking to other people. Blah, blah, blah. You're attracting unwanted attention that we don't need, and blah, whatever excuse they need. And when the CEO, the vice president of the company literally told me, well, what's it been, like 15 years ago, that if I do anything like this ever again, I'm fired, which is basically bring negative attention to the company with what I do outside of the company involving the internet. He's like, yeah, you'll be gone. I'm like, okay, message received. That's one of the major factors as to why, like, the social rec stuff, I would always kind of back off. And when I felt like it was getting too big, I had to back off and move away because I felt like I was playing with fire, you know, especially in that crowd. Holy fuck. I was playing with fire. And in the end, I definitely made the right decision because look where they're all at now. Of course, says the guy who may be potentially losing his job in a couple of months. But the thought of working for the state, that doesn't change things for me. Actually, I think that makes it worse. Like now I can't say, there's even less that I think I could say, you know? Like I'll still talk shit about the government. I'll talk shit about the state government especially. I'm more active in shitting on my state than I am the federal government at any time. But now if I'm working for the state, it's kind of hard for me to shit on the state while I'm working for the state. You know, it's like, what do? You know, I don't know. It just doesn't sound like the kind of thing that I should be doing, regardless of the pay. Like, what's my... I don't know. Money's not everything. I guess that's the best way to put it. Money is not everything. And with my wife getting her, promoted to supervisor, and me potentially staying at my current job, what do I need? How much more does a person really need? I'm not a greedy person. I just want to sleep. I want to be able to get to sleep. My wife and I were talking about this weekend, about how as you get older, you just sort of you start to realize that you just don't do the same shit you used to when you're, I mean, of course that should be common knowledge, but I meant in such a way to where, like, when we were young, our whole lives revolved around, you know, partying on the weekends, getting together with our friends, getting social engagements, drinking, hanging out, talking, blah, blah, blah. We haven't done that stuff in years. And none of my friends do that stuff anymore either, because we're all just getting too old. And we've done it for so long that it's just like, it's old hat now, you know? And everyone sort of went their separate ways, had their families, have their responsibilities, get pulled in different directions. You can't get everybody together at the same time anymore. Different work schedules, different life schedules. Yeah, I mean, it's not an easy thing to keep together, you know, a big friendship group like that. So the band thing was always one of those things that kept things together. How do you put it? It was kind of like false. Like people weren't really getting to, I mean, everyone was using it as an excuse to get together, but at the end of the day, I knew that we were just using it as an excuse. That if you took the band out of the equation, we wouldn't talk to each other anymore. And I was right. Sadly enough, I was right. Because I could tell that we had such little in common, you know, outside of the music and outside of partying, that you just couldn't keep a group like that, of that many different, you know, people together without some sort of core commonality. But it had to come to an end. All things had to come to an end. It was only an eventuality. Not everyone was happy. But in the interim, it's like, what's left in life, you know? What do you do? Especially when you don't have children. What do you do? Well, I guess that's why I hike. But it's like, you reach a point in life where you're like, okay, I'm starting to hike the same trails over and over and over again now. Now what do I do? Well, I bought kayaks last year. I guess I'll start kayaking. And then when I've kayaked all the local waterways that I can find and go on kayaking trips or whatever, like, then what? Like, how I'm trying to find a way to push through the rest of my life in a way to where I don't think about the life that's the remainder of my life that I have to get through. You know, I've said for a long time, life is too long, and I really start to feel it the older I get. But I'm also facing this anxiety of feeling like time is slipping away, because time does feel like it's just rushing right by. So as time gets faster for me, I realize that I don't have enough to do with that time. So I'm literally just sitting around watching it slip away and getting bitter about the fact that I'm not doing enough with my time. I guess that's the best way to put it. I feel like I should be doing more with it. It should mean something. It should matter more. But, I mean, what does it matter to anyone else? It just has to matter to something to me, you know? That's where depression takes over. Which reminds me, I've been fucking around on Reddit lately. And oh my God, Reddit is terrible. Reddit is a fucking horrible place. I realize that anxiety, like, you don't ever want to look up anything involving anxiety on Reddit, because you'll either be convinced that every little thing is a problem for you to obsess about, or you'll realize 90% of the world is full of really pathetic people who cannot deal with life. And I have no sympathy for people who can't deal with life. Because it's like, somebody will say, oh, well, I'm just really struggling and I'm worried so much about my health issues. And I feel like I could have this, or I could have this wrong with me. I could have this wrong with me. And I've looked this up online and I'm having this pain and it could be this. Like, yeah, but it's not. I mean, and even if you do have something going on, who cares? I mean, people sort of take this like, I had a pain once. So, random pains happen. I mean, unless it's a debilitating pain, then why are you so obsessed about it? But that's where the whole anxiety disorder thing comes in. And it's like people just can't shut it off and they have to obsess about it. But I'm like, and I came to the realization that depression is the answer for that. Like, these people who have serious health anxiety issues care way too much about their life to, I mean, depression, they obviously have no sign of depression, because depression is one of those things that like counterbalances that. Because you really, I mean, if you're suffering from depression, you don't give enough of a fuck about your life to obsess that much about your health issues and dying. I mean, dying is not something that is like anything that even remotely terrifies you. It's weird. So it's like, I always thought they went hand in hand. Maybe it's because it does with me. But in these cases, it's like, that's it's always my answer every time I read stuff like that. It's like, what do you care? Who cares? Like, you should, as far as I'm concerned, like, if you have a serious condition, like, you should be thankful. Why wouldn't you be? I mean, you have a serious condition that's going to be debilitating. You could get on disability. You never have to work again. There goes a lot of your anxiety right there. It's like, yeah, but then I can't have this and I can't have that. It's like, well, you pick and choose. I mean, if you can't handle life and you can't handle the stresses of everyday life and modern life, or whatever you want to call it, and you can't handle that shit, then you know, at least be happy with the fact that you found a way through it. You're cutting through the red tape. You're getting on disability. You found the exit ramp. You can continue to exist and live and don't have to fuck around with all the shit that everyone else does. You have a quality of life that may not be as great as everyone's, but you don't have to face the day-to-day horse shit of maintaining a reality that, you know, is stressful and anxiety ridden. Hell yeah, cancer. I always say that, like, I have this morbid feeling of like, if I got a cancer diagnosis, I'd be like, it's about fucking time. That would be my response. Because honestly, like, I've run through so many fucking tests, so many MRIs, so many blood tests, stool tests, blah, blah, blah. It's like people just searching for something. I'm like, when's something ever going to appear? Because every time I go through these tests, it's like, well, we didn't find anything. I'm like, yeah, I know you didn't find anything. That's why I'm just like, why do I keep paying for this? Why do I keep subjecting myself to this? Like, nothing ever happens. At one time, I don't give a fuck. Just one time. I wish it was cancer. I wish the thing in my fucking pituitary gland was a goddamn tumor. Just so I don't have to hear about, well, it could be this, it could be that. We're going to give you this medicine to see if we can shrink it, and then we're going to run you through an MRI in 8 months and see if it had an effect. And if that doesn't, then we could change up the medicine and do the blah, blah, blah. Like, how about we just don't? I'm okay with that. I'm almost 50 at this point. How about we just don't see where it goes? Yeah, but where it is, I mean, it's going to cause serious problems. Fuck it. It's in an area that's going to, if it gets any bigger, it's going to start compressing on my optic nerves, and I'm probably going to go blind. Boom. Never have to work again. I'll try to see the bright side on anything. But ultimately, it's like, if it's inoperable. They've already told me it's inoperable. The tests say you're gay. They've already told me it's inoperable, so it's like the only thing they can do is address it with different medications and whatever. It's like, fine, cool. It's like, wouldn't it be easier if it got bigger? Wouldn't it be easier to find or to know before I start having to pay for MRI after MRI after MRI to try to fucking track this thing and whatever before we finally get to a point where, because it all came up in an incidental find on it, because I was trying to track down the reason why I was having neurological pain in my head, which is completely unrelated to it, by the way. But that's when they found it. And they're like, oh, well, it wasn't on a previous MRI, because I have had MRIs in the past too. I swear to God, I've had like 4 MRIs in my life. It's like, I don't know. It's always like neuropathy shit. Undiagnosed and unexplained neuropathy. But the first time they MRI'd me, it was there. It was just so small that it didn't, no one would have picked it out of a lineup, so to speak. But the second or third MRI, they've been able to see it. But then when they go back to the original, the very first MRI I had from like, what was it, like fucking 15 years ago, it's there. It's just really, really small. So it has grown, but it's not growing fast enough or big enough for them to be worried about it or whatever. And they also say it's maybe a fluid-filled cyst. I'm like, cool, awesome. Then I don't have to keep paying for MRIs. Because that's what I'm concerned with. I don't want to have to keep dropping thousands of dollars on fucking MRIs. I'm not that concerned. I am not that interested in it. I mean, hell, just the neuralgia thing was like, yeah, it's neuralgia. Cool. What do we do about that? Nothing. What do you mean nothing? Well, it's just something that will happen from time to time. It's like, were you drinking a lot of coffee? Yeah. Well, don't do that. Okay, I won't. I won't, because I'm not a big fan of coffee anyway. So if that's the answer, just don't drink coffee. Cool. I'll go the rest of my life and never have another cup of coffee. So you're telling me I do that and the neuralgia goes away? Yeah, pretty much. Cool. The tests say your cis are gay. But that's amazing to me, like that neuralgia from coffee. I've never heard of that one before. But they were right. I stopped drinking coffee and the pain stopped. Just weird shit like that. But I'd prefer that sort of, and that I had to go to a goddamn specialist for that. Now, but it seemed like every single time I'd go to a specialist, there was some shit going on. Like I went to an optometrist and she's like, giving me a vision test and all this. Like, oh, everything's great. It's like, what? Except for the fact that I can't see like 10 inches or 15 inches in front of my face. Like, oh, that's normal for your age. That's normal for my age. Okay. It's like, yeah, that's, besides that, like what's normal, wear and tear on your eyes, everything else looks pretty good. Except for this one thing. Like, what one thing? It's like, well, you got something going on in your left eye that we're concerned about. And I'm actually going to have another optometrist come in and get a second opinion on this because I want to see what they think. Like, are you going to tell me what it is? Oh, well, it's just this thing. It's apparently, I don't know. It's some sort of like deterioration in the cornea. And they didn't know if it was like, they weren't sure what it was, but they were like, well, we're just going to keep an eye on it. We'll have you come back in a year and see if it's gotten any bigger. It's like, oh, great. Another thing I got to check up on. But I ended up not going back to that either because it was like, I don't know. I think that office, the optometrist's office I went to, they don't even have any doctors there anymore. COVID really screwed a lot of shit. Healthcare's gone way downhill. But getting back to Reddit. I was trying to offer advice to some people, and it's weird how some people, they only want to hear what they want to hear. So I was not going to get into it with anyone, but it's like, man, some people just want to indulge in their fantasies, They just want that shit to be real so bad. I think it's because everyone kind of wants their life to be important in some way, and no one's ready to hear that you're just not important. Because that is one of the big topics on anxiety Reddit, is people just feel like no one loves them, no one cares about them. And my response in my head is, they don't. Get over yourself. But I don't post that because I'm too polite. But it's the truth. It's like, there's no secret to life. There's no secret to, like, do these people actually go around their entire life thinking that everyone just feels for everyone else and loves everyone else? So someone posted that they thought they were a narcissist because they didn't empathize with other people. I was like, no, you're just an introvert. It doesn't mean shit. It's like the fact that you're on here asking questions about if you have a problem proves you're not a narcissist. It's like, but that's just common introvert shit. It's like, you don't have to care for other people. It's like, I'm gonna clue you into the reality of life. No one cares about anyone else. That's just the way fucking shit is. Everyone pretends they care. That's what empathy is. It's like your ability to outwardly project that you care about something that happened to somebody, which you don't. I mean, you do in the sense for social lubricant and things like that. Like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. It's like, but it's people searching for sympathy, getting sympathy, because that's the social contract that we have. Like, somebody throws that bait out there. Oh, my baby's sick. Oh, I hate to hear that. What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. And then conversation. That's small talk shit. The truth is truth is gay. I just think it's hilarious that so many people are hung up on this concept that people actually care. I don't know where anybody gets that from. Who fucking cares? Who in anyone's life actually cared? I mean, obviously your parents. Well, some people's parents. But everyone cares about themselves. You'd be a weirdo if you didn't care about yourself. It doesn't make you a narcissist. It just makes you like everyone else. But to care about other people to an extent where you like, I must be selfless. Like, those are the true weirdos. Those are the people who I fear, because they're like they're the true narcissists, because they're using that horse shit to like prey on other people. It's manipulation for their own selfish gain. Don't trust them. But yeah, that's... I think I got on Reddit not for that sort of shit. I got on Reddit because I was trying to promote my stupid ass 7 Days to Die streams. And then I realized really fucking quick why I don't do that. Why you don't do that. Don't ever fucking promote shit. Because Jesus Christ, people are dumb. And then I just dropped the 7 Days to Die thing like a hot potato, like fucking a month later. Of course, this is right around when I was finding out that I may be losing my job and all that shit. So I couldn't really stay invested in that. But also that game is fucking dreadfully boring. I don't know if anyone's ever played 7 Days to Die, but man, that game is so boring. I couldn't fight it anymore. I just could not fucking bring myself to do it. This is like the longest fucking music track. Holy shit, was it like 10 hours? God damn. Well, I think this is going to work. Work for my interview tomorrow. I don't want to have this... I have the microphone here. It's just not going to be completely in my face. But the speaker should work. Webcam will work. I'll wear a shirt that doesn't look shitty. And who knows? I might be working for the state of Illinois. But overall, the big message, this is like the final addendum, not the final, but this is an addendum to the whole I'm losing my job thing. May not be losing my job. I may be a fucking giant dumbass. maybe. I don't even think it's a maybe at this point. I am. I jumped the gun. I said a bunch of stuff and took it to a place it didn't need to go. I wasn't entirely sure. And now I'm certainly not sure. And there's a strong possibility that I may be throwing my job away for this new job. Only one way to find out. I mean, I'll worst case scenario, they offer me the job. And then I have to make a choice between higher paying job or staying at comfortable job. I mean, it sounds easy. Maybe. I don't know. Because the funny thing is, there's no guarantee I'm going to be able to stay at my current job. There's no guarantee that I'm still going to be able to stay at the state job if the government keeps going to shit. I mean, they could lose their budget and I'm out on the street. So no matter how you slice it, I may not have a job in a year or two. I mean, I'm rolling the dice no matter what. I guess you could say the best outcome for me at that point is to make that money. So, fuck it. But they have to give me the job. Like I said, I only have an interview set up, so got to get the job. That will be the final part to the I'm losing my job horse shit, is if I actually get this job. But until then, I'm going to sign off here because I don't have anything else to say. Thank you for watching, Prairie Judge. I appreciate you. And this music is dumb. It's gay. I am gay. Yes, I am. See you later.